The film begins with a cave in the mountains. After a close-up shot of the cave, we are shown two girls, Abby and her sister. After Abby's mother died, Beth's entire world became Abby's. Their life was going well, until they learned that Beth had terminal cancer. Beth was devastated by this news, but she refused to give up. She began searching for new ways to treat Beth and learned about a pharmaceutical research company that had discovered a cure for terminal cancer, but the treatment was extremely expensive. Abby didn't have the money, so she decided to take on a very dangerous job. She landed a job as a geologist on the frigid border between Europe and Russia, where she had to search for uranium in the mountains. The job was extremely dangerous, even potentially life-threatening. But because it offered good pay, she accepted. Abby dedicated herself to her work. Despite their hard work, they find no uranium, so Abby tells her colleague that they should go deeper into the mountains and into the dense forests. Her colleague was unwilling to take this risk, knowing it could endanger his life. Furthermore, the Russian border was about to begin, where they were not allowed to go. Desperate, Abby goes to Keijzer. That night, she receives a call from her father, who tells her that Beth's health has worsened. Abby is also worried that the company hasn't given her any advance, at least enough to start her sister's treatment. She knows that if she wants the money, she must find uranium, so, the next day, she decides to go deeper into the forests. Her colleague warns her that there might be wild animals inside, and she had already refused to accompany her. So, she borrows his gun and begins her journey alone. After walking for a long time, she begins to hear strange noises. She sensed an animal approaching her. She immediately drew her gun, but then her eyes fell on a large, bare rock below. It seemed as if the sound was coming from it. Picking it up, she found it extremely valuable. She had never seen anything like it before. She was a geologist, meaning she had done extensive research on land and rocks. Abby brought it back to her base but didn't tell her company about it because she found it incredibly valuable. She thought she could sell it and raise enough money for Beth's treatment. Just then, she received another call from her father, who told her that Beth's condition had worsened. So, Abby decided to go home immediately. On her way, she told her colleague that she might never return. To escape the area, Abby had to take a helicopter. She boards the helicopter, and halfway through, Abby notices a strange object outside the window, which she initially thinks is a bird's wing. But as the helicopter crashes into her, she realizes it's something else. She's unconscious. When she regains consciousness, she sees one pilot already dead and the other badly injured. She administers first aid to him and then frantically searches for a radio to call for help. She initially can't find one, and the helicopter's communication system is out of order. Realizing she can't call for help, Abby panics. She must save herself and the pilot. She retrieves a map and compass and discovers that the nearest road is approximately 60 kilometers away, a difficult journey in the weather and conditions. Night falls, and Abby lights a fire, hoping someone will spot them, and desperately tries to protect the pilot from the cold. But all her efforts are futile. The pilot died before dawn, and no one saw the fire, nor did anyone come to help. Abby realized that staying here and waiting for help was pointless, so she left, taking supplies, food, a gun, and a radio, a walkie-talkie. The walkie-talkie signal was very weak due to low batteries. Abby charged the walkie-talkie with the helicopter's battery, and then she heard the voice of a man named John on the same walkie-talkie. Surprisingly, John's helicopter had also crashed, landing in a nearby area. He explained that there was a lake and a forest nearby. His condition was also very bad, with many parts of his body not working, and his leg was badly injured. He explained that his communication system was also damaged, preventing him from calling for rescue. But the good thing was that John had good supplies and a good radio, which Abby could use to repair with her battery and expertise. She checked the map. John was only 30 kilometers away, while the road was 60 kilometers away. So Abby decided to go to John. But John told her she was wrong. saying the route was too dangerous. And with the hope you were having, who knows, my equipment might not even work. Abby held back, as she didn't have much time to travel the 60 kilometers, reach the road, and then wait for help. She needed to reach her sister quickly. They continued talking on the way, and Abby revealed that she was a geologist. John immediately told her, "Then you must have come here to look for uranium." Abby was shocked to hear this. How did she know this? At night, Abby set up the shelter and, before resting, checked her bag for the same black stone. She was turning it over and over when, to her surprise, it began to change shape in her hand. As Abby tried to bend it, as she tried to shape it, it kept changing. She became even more confused, wondering why it was. No stone could change its shape like this. Was it some advanced technology or an alien mock? The next morning, Abby began her journey. She was completely alone in this smelly area. John kept trying to talk to her on the radio. But Abby scolded him, saying, "If we keep talking on the radio like this, our radio battery will quickly run down, and then I won't be able to contact you." Turning off the radio, she focused on her journey. Now, a new challenge awaits her, climbing a steep hill, which was extremely difficult. Abby thought she might not be able to do it. She tells John about this, and he says, "Okay, if you want to go, go. I'll remember all the effort you made for me and pray for your sister's speedy recovery." Quote. A sad nod even tells her that she's not recovering either. John then explains that she can't save everyone. Hearing this, Abby becomes angry and scolds John, saying, "Right now, I don't need advice, but motivation to keep going." John says, "Okay, do what you think is right." Abby begins climbing the difficult hill. When she can't find a spot, she uses her knife to climb out. But at one point, her knife gets stuck in the hill and breaks, making her climb even more difficult. Abby then remembers the stone she was able to change its shape. She takes it out, shapes it into a knife, and uses it to climb out. This stone eases many of her difficulties. She makes him pull her up and finally climbs to the top of the mountain. Upon reaching the top, she realizes that descending is even more challenging. It's like a precipice. If she fell, she would die. She fashioned the same stone into a long rope and used it to defend. Immediately upon defending, John contacted her and told her that the Russian border way ahead. If she crossed there, she would be shot on sight. Hearing this, Abby was terrified. Just as she was about to turn back, she accidentally slipped. The stone slipped from under her feet, sending her tumbling down the slope, severely injuring her leg. She bandaged her leg and resumed her journey, determined not to stop. She kept walking. Evening approached, and finally, she spotted a settlement. Abby, desperately in need of help, immediately headed toward it. But sadly, not a single person was there. Tired, she decided to spend the night here. Hungry. She found food, but it had spoiled. She bandaged her injured leg and gave herself a strength injection. In the morning, Rebby's eyes caught some noises and she spotted a Russian soldier nearby. She was frightened, as she had come from Europe and could be captured here, so she immediately hid. The soldier was also suspicious, so he followed Abby into the house. Abby also had a gun. She prepared it and, as soon as the soldier appeared in front of her, pointed it at him. The soldier also pointed his gun at her. But Abby shot him in the leg. Although Abby didn't mean to harm the soldier, the shot was accidental. Terrified, she took the soldier's rifle and asked him for his bag containing supplies. Now, the surprising thing was that this soldier also possessed a stone similar to the black stone she had. The stone could change its shape and perform various functions. At this time, someone contacted the soldier's walkie-talkie. The voice of each person who contacted the soldier sounded exactly like John's. Abby was shocked at how someone could speak to her as John and to the soldier as someone else. She understood that the entire story was connected to the stone. She even asked John through the soldier's walkie-talkie, "For you and what do you want?" But there was no answer. However, she now helps the wounded soldier. She bandages him and asks him, "If you need my help, I can take you to your base." The soldier agrees because he too had gotten lost. John was still in contact with Abby, but they were unaware of his intentions. Both of them were still injured, and moving forward was difficult. Interestingly, they were enemies. One was from Europe, the other from Russia. But here, they showed no hostility because they both knew they needed each other. They continued moving forward, and the soldier's wounds were worsening. John was also saying strange things to Abby, as if trying to instill fear in her for the other soldier. Abby realized that John must have a connection with the black stone he was carrying. Terrified, she took the stone from her bed and threw it away. Meanwhile, she saw that the ice of the lake beneath the soldier behind had broken, and he had fallen into it. Abby tried to go after him to help, but the ice broke beneath her feet, and she too fell into the lake. The lake water was so cold that it froze Abby's entire body. Parby, still bracing herself, managed to climb out, albeit with great difficulty. She screamed and tried to call for help. No one came to her aid. She helped herself and removed all her wet clothes to preserve her body heat. At this point, she heard John's voice again. In anger, she even removed the radio's battery and threw it away. But she could still hear him. Finally, exhausted and injured, she fell asleep. In her sleep, she remembered all the beautiful moments she had spent with her sister. A moment later, she woke up to the sound of a helicopter. She was overjoyed. Gathering her strength, she got up, hoping to attract one so it could come to her aid. But Abby was so weak that she couldn't signal the helicopters. Abby then realized she was standing near a car. Her courage had failed. Her mind had failed, and she collapsed unconscious. Rolling, she falls into the cave, and it's the same cave we were shown at the beginning of the movie. This cave contained warm water that began to revive Abby. In this very water, we see a skeleton, a dead man, in a pilot's uniform, with John's name written on it. Was John, the man Abby had been talking to all along, dead? Well, several shiny black stones float up and attach to Abby's body. When she regains consciousness, she's terrified because she's landed in a strange place, filled with the same black stones as before. All the stones are floating around her in the air, and here, Abby hears John's voice. He explains how, 65 years ago, he, like Abby, had come here and ended up stranded there. Listening to him, Abby realizes that what's happening to her isn't an accident, and the stones she sees here aren't ordinary stones. The helicopter crash was deliberately caused by these stones, a glimpse of which she had glimpsed. She understood that these stones were aliens or some creature unknown to humans, but they had been living on Earth for thousands of years. Whether their existence here was out of compulsion or choice is unknown. They need humans to survive. But unlike other aliens, they don't abuse humans. They don't kill them, but instead keep them here of their own free will. Just as John had willingly surrendered himself to them. After which, these stones gave John life, but not the life of a human being. John then asks Abby, "If you want such a life, you will get it." But Abby replies, it's because she didn't want to be part of this alien system. She only wanted to return to her sister. Quote, "The next moment, she was magically standing in front of her home. Far from all those difficulties, her life had suddenly become perfect. She couldn't believe it. She went inside and met her sister. But the reality was that none of this was real. It was all just the aliens making her see it. When she regained consciousness, she was standing in front of her house's door. When she opened the door, there was a blizzard. Abby went into the storm, and then the scenes blurred, and in a flash, we were shown that Abby had been rescued. When she woke up, she was indeed in her friend's apartment. Wasting no time, she went to her sister's. As she reached home, she saw her sister taking her last breaths, and finally, Abby was with her sister in her final moments. The aliens had fulfilled her wish. She wanted to be with her sister in her final moments. At the end of the movie, Abby was with her sister and her dad, accepting death as John had told her, and now she was ready for her sister's death. The movie would have ended with this emotional scene.